Well, I used to be a bank robber, and I served some time in prison. And yes, sir.
My dad thinks I'm here to scream. I'm debt-free for my school loan debt. That was actually the first time I became debt-free. I'm actually here to tell my dad that I have paid off my mortgage.
Wow! Look at Dad!
It was a Saturday night, 4 days before Christmas, when the house burned.
It's devastating. We felt like we lost everything when our house burned down.
The last thing I paid off was the restitution. That was actually just Friday, down in the courthouse in downtown Dallas at the federal building down there. I don't want to exaggerate, but to say that it's the same as the day that I got out of prison is how I felt when I got in the button and I pushed one on the elevator to get out of that place, and I was done. And that was it, man. My past was in the past, and I didn't know anybody anymore. And that was the end of it.
I love it.
Being debt-free has allowed me to relax. It's allowed me to unplug from my work and allowed me to travel the world.
Yeah, there's not any stopping you. Yeah, you've got plans for money. Money's going to be a tool in your hands your whole life.
Staying dedicated and disciplined and giving up leisurely activities for a short term is 1,000% worth the experience and the feelings that come with it.
I went and got a shovel and was looking through some just different areas of the house, and I found a little piece of my son Memphis's baby book, and the footprints were still there. And things just began to get beautiful. People would just come and bless us. It was amazing. We got things that were beautiful because that's what the Lord wanted for us at that moment. But we had lived in disaster even before the fire. I can give money to some other family that has a fire. We always gave whenever the Lord led. But now we can give when the Lord leads or when we just feel like it.
Count it down. Let's hear a great debt-free scream.
3, 2, 1, I'm debt-free!
I'm debt-free!
I love it.
We're debt-free!
You know, that could be you, actually. I hope you'll sign up for Financial Peace University. As I shared with many of you before, if you take it, we give you all your money back. You pay it up front. If you go to all the classes, you get your money back. You can't beat that. Today's Valentine's Day, and the worship team's raising some money for some mics. I guess nobody, I really don't spit when I preach, but there's not very many in this middle right here, you know? A lot of sick people today. I got a good friend of mine here, David Lee. Where you at, David? Back there. Hey, we done ministry together for many years. But good to see you here today on Valentine's Day. I read this thing that said, roses are red, violets are blue, roses cost $59.95. Well, daisies do. That's real romantic, isn't it? It really is. We've been in this series about, the grace of God to start over again. So a lot of us find ourselves in different periods of life, and we find ourselves having to start over at times. It's never really easy to start over, whether it's in a vocation, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in, churches or whatever. It's kind of hard to start over. But in this instant grace, we find that God always just seems to bring us grace when we need it most. And so today is Valentine's Sunday, and we're dealing with this subject here. Is happily ever after possible? That's a good question. So how many members back in the 80s there was a movie? It wasn't that great of a movie if you take all the words and everything that's in the movie, but I figure a lot of you have watched the movie. How many watched the movie Juno? Back in the 80s. There's some in here, yep, I see some hands in there. You kind of like, well, I don't know whether he's tricking me or not. But the movie Juno, in that movie, there's a part in the movie where Juno, she looks at her dad, MacGuff, and she says this statement, I just need to know if it's possible for two people to stay happy together forever. I just need to know that. Folks, people are still asking that same question today. And at the end of the sermon today, if I don't talk them out of it, we're going to have a wedding right up here at the end of the service. There's going to be the vows only, and it's going to be powerful, and you're going to be a part of that. But our goal in this series has been how to make sure the next time is better than the last time. How to make sure the next time is better than the last time. Because, see, we often think, and the phrase is used many times, that experience is the best teacher. But we've actually been looking at that, and we found out that experience is not the best teacher. Evaluated experience is the best teacher. Evaluated experience is the best teacher. So today, as we look at this, is happily ever after even possible? Is it possible? I want to share with you a little bit today on this. You know, when all of us comes to marriage, we don't realize it, but when we come to marriage, we come to marriage with certain desires, right? You know, I don't remember if you remember back when you were thinking about getting married, like, oh, me and Sharon, we had these desires. Sharon, she was what she called herself a military brat because her parents were in the military and they traveled and went to all these different places. So my wife, she said, you know, when I get married, I want to have a little, it don't have to be big, but I want a little white house with a picket fence, and I want to live there forever. I don't want to ever move. Well, you know, I tried, but when we got married, we lived down in Florida in an old rundown trailer. It didn't quite meet her desire, but that's what we had. We'd have a trailer living out in the woods, and all that was around us is a bunch of old cows. But that's what we lived in. But you know, all of us, we come to marriage and we're kind of going down the aisle like this. We're carrying this box of desires. We don't all the time make them known. And, you know, as I was studying this message, listening and reading different books and studying, I come across this illustration that Andy Stanley originally done, or I don't know who he got it from, but I thought it was good because we do approach marriage with that ideal of, you know, desires. I never forget about this young girl that she was going to get married, and she was real nervous about her wedding day, and she said, I just don't think I can do it, and I'll forget something. And the wedding planner said, here's what you do. You go in the back door of the church, and you go down the aisle. When you turn left there, that main aisle, you go down the aisle, and then you go all the way down and just focus your attention on the altar. So you go down the aisle, and you focus your attention on the altar. When you get to the altar, you look up at him. That's all you got to do. So she said, just remember that. And so the bride was standing back there at the back door, and she says, I'll alter him. I'll alter him, right? Isn't that kind of the way we enter marriage? But see, we have these desires. And like I said, well, when I get married, my wife, she's going to make me coffee every morning, put all the stuff I want in. Be just like Starbucks. She's going to mix it all. He'll have it right ready. She'll be waiting, you know, with my bag and all that. She'll kiss me goodbye. Honey, have a great day at work. You know, because I saw that on Leave It to Beaver, and it must be true, you know. The Cleavers. And, you know, so I had that was my desire, you know. And then, you know, of course, one of her desires was a house. And, you know, I can't put a house in there, but they've got a picture of a house here. They're going to show you on the side walls there. And so you got this house that we live in this house, and, you know, we'd be happily ever after. And then, of course, we got cars. Well, I get on down the road, and we get past this beginning of our marriage. We'll have a nice car. Woo! You know, I'd like to have a car like that. But, you know, after a while, you get to the feeling like, I may never have a car like that, but if I can't have a car like that, maybe I can have a truck like this. Wouldn't it be nice to have a UT truck, an old truck fixed up that looked like UT? That would be a great truck, wouldn't it? And so you have these desires, and you just kind of put them out there, and you start thinking, you know, when I get married, my wife, she's going to wash all my dirty clothes, and she's going to take and she'll fold them up, and she's going to just do them a certain way like that, and they'll be sitting in the drawer like that right when I need them every time. And she's going to do the clothes for me, you know, and I just had that desire that she's going to take care of every one of my needs possible, you know. That's what she's going to do. And, you know, she's going to cook, and, you know, she'll cook all this food, all my favorite food she's going to cook, and, you know, I can just come home, and there it'll be all cooked up and ready to go, just like my mama used to do. You know, it'd be so neat. And I'd have that. And, you know, then, you know, our marriage is going to be like the hourglass of time where the little sands are falling through like on the days of our lives. It's going to be so powerful. It's just going to be like that. That was, her dream. She saw all those romantic days of her life. I was her Prince Charming coming in. And then I was thinking, oh yeah, she's going to do all that. And then she's not going to mind on Saturdays and Sundays. I go out and hang out with my friends and we do the football thing. And we hang out and go to UT games, and us guys, we do the guy thing. It's all the guy thing. And then if I'm lucky later on, I'll be able to get my Harley and we'll, ride into the sunset and I can live happily ever after. Actually, I've got a bobblehead that sits on there that looks just like me I had made. Now how's that for desires, right? I have these desires. In time, all these desires are going to come true. And like you have desires of what your wife will wear to bed. Like, let me show you that one. I have this desire. That's not it right there. That's not it. But, she has a desire that, like, she could wear that to bed. And I go, honey, that doesn't matter as long as you're comfortable. That'll be okay. But that wasn't my desire. I thought, either nothing or something a little more skimpy, sheer, see-through, But so what happens, we come down to marriage with all these desires, and we put them, here, and we're taking them down. And it's not just the men, the women have this same thing, and they have all these desires, and you take them, and you don't realize it's that way, but you really do have all these desires. And so you go and you get married, and when I got married, I was like, I'm the man. I'm the man. I'm going to go to work. Sharon, you're going to stay home because I'm the man. You don't have to work. You stay at home. So I go out and I work all day. I worked like in Tampa, Florida, about an hour from where I lived, and I lived out in the country. And so, right after we got married, Sharon was sitting at home in this trailer in the middle of a cow pasture with cows and no friends, nobody around, and a TV that got like one channel, no microwave, none of that kind of stuff wasn't even there then. And so I come in from work one day, I come in with my desire, I've got my desire. I'm going to come home and man, the food's going to be ready to go. I get home and I get there and, she never knew what time I was going to get in. So I get there and she's cooked up a pot of spaghetti and she goes, oh, the spaghetti's on the stove in there. And you ever seen that spaghetti when it kind of looks little sparkly things on it, like it's like grease? That's kind of what it looked like. And I go, I worked all day long. And that's what I come home to. Old, cold spaghetti. What had happened, somewhere along the lines, my desires turned into my expectations. Now I have these I expect her to cook me something good. And so I come home and, and I go over there and it's all just like cold. And it wasn't like you just put it in a microwave. There wasn't no microwaves. And, she didn't know when I was going to be there and everything. The bread's kind of stale and just it's cold. And I go, I worked all day and that's what I come home to. You know what she did? She went in there and she grabbed up the tablecloth with the glasses, the plate, the spaghetti, everything. She took it. She walked down the hallway of that little trailer. She opened the back door and threw it all out in the yard. Now, that is not what I expected. That is not what I expected. Something was wrong here. We got married and we was going to live happily ever after. And we had these desires. But see, that's kind of what happens when we get married. And you can remind your spouse, hey, you were there. The minister was up there, for God's sake. You got up there and you stood, you put your hand on the Bible and you said, before God and these witnesses, that you said, I do, that you would do all that stuff. You'd love me and all that stuff, and you're not doing it. Like something happens when they eat the wedding cake. Everything's so romantic, you just can't wait to get in the car and go sparking. And you get married and something happens when they eat that wedding cake. It's like all the romance and that's over. And you go, what's wrong? See, it happens over a period of time. It could happen right as you walk out the door of getting married. your desire box turns into an expectation of marriage. You start expecting that. It's not very good. And you know what happens when expectations? I can use me and Sharon. She was here in first service. She don't mind. I don't guess. I hope she ain't home packing right now. But when we got married, I think the first year we were married at 17, I think she left me 5 times. One time, for God's sake, it was at church. I come out of my class, teaching a class, and I come out and go, "Where's Sharon at?" I don't know. I saw her walking down the road. She's walking down the road there. And what? Yeah, she left after Sunday school. She's walking down the road. And man, I was so mad. This had been like the 5th time she left me. And so I get in my car and I'm driving. How many has ever seen the pathetic looking thing where you're driving down the road? Get in! I ain't getting in! Get in! I said, get in! I'm not getting in! I was that pathetic person driving, and you pull over, and then they start walking again, and you're out there fussing in front of, right after you come out of church, man, it's really classy, right? I remember she wouldn't get in, so I drove on to our house, and I went in there, and I packed all our stuff, and I put it in a suitcase, and I said, now, if you want to leave, you leave, but don't ever threaten it again. See, here's what had happened. Here's what had happened was... our desires had turned into expectations. And that's what happens in marriage sometimes. So you've got several things you can do, and don't pay much attention to your outline. That's just something for you to hold on to. I mean, I'll tell you some of it. Some of these I'll cover next week. But just stay with me today. See, one thing you can do, you can just leave. I'm leaving that person. They're just... Hey, I married a loser. I didn't know I was married a loser, but I married a loser. How could I do that? But I married a loser. And so you can leave. And that's what some people do. They just leave. That's one possible thing you could do. The next thing you can do, well, I tell you what, I'm just going to conquer that person. And so you set out, usually one person's more stronger willed than the other, and so you just impress on what you want done, and you just go, and you conquer. I will alter you. See, here's the problem. When we go down the aisle to get married, there's one over here that's saying, I do, and there's one over here that's saying, I do. And you got this problem with those I's. It's like I and an I. You ever heard that, an eye for an eye? I'll give you an eye, and I'll raise you an eye. You ever heard, like, if you believe in that, you know, an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, you go through life blind and toothless. Me and Sharon got pretty close to that. I never, ever believed in flying saucers until about 6 months after I got married, and I could attest to the fact there are flying saucers. If you get my drift there. I learned to duck fast. Hey, we were even Christians or pretending to be Christians or something. So we set out to conquer. And so you set out to conquer that person and alter that person and make that person into the person you want to be. But see, that person, they go, I want what I want. I got desires too. I want what I want. Well, you try that, and sometimes that works temporarily. But you know what I've found out about the conquered marriages? A lot of times, the way the conquered marriage works for a while is you've got kids at home, and you go, I tell you what, I'll just let him have his way, or I'll let her have her way. I'm not going to disrupt the kids. I'm just going to live this way, and if that's what she needs to be happy, or that's what he needs to be happy, that's what I'm going to do. And one person goes through life very conquered. And that lasts pretty good until you get to be about 30 or 40 years old, usually in the 40s, according to how early you started. But what do we call that? The empty nest. That's where we call that time where we go, the guys go get on their Harley and ride off into the sunset. That's what we call midlife crisis. And a lot of times why that happens is because we are to a point that we want what we want, and I've been stuffing it down, and I've been doing what you wanted. And you know, you usually we find it in counseling, somebody comes to the church all upset. I didn't know where that was coming from. It's, you know, we don't even fight. We don't even fuss. And then I just come home and she's gone, or I come home and he's gone. You know why there's no more fuss, there's no more fight? Because they were conquered years ago and they just put up with it. Now the kids are gone and now they're gone. Another thing that people do is conform. They conform. Well, I'll just conform. And there again, that's another kind of spin-off of the conquer. The conform. Well, I'll conform to what you want. She'll conform a little bit and we'll get by. And then the fourth thing is we compromise. The compromise, these are still all forms of I am going to get what I want in my marriage. And the compromise is this. Okay, you can go out and hang out with your guys. You know, now I love these little guys. They get littler and littler, you know, as you pull them apart. You can go hang out with your guys and you can do your thing. I don't care. You go off and do whatever you want to do. Buy you a motorcycle and ride around like you a kid. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care. I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'm going to do what I want to do. You can go on your own vacation. I'll go on my own vacation. Because I don't care no more. And we'll just stay together and we'll make everybody believe we've got a happy marriage and we'll just compromise and you do your thing and I'll do my thing and that's how it'll be. Compromise marriage. It's just another form of all about I and selfishness. It's just another form of it. You're still got what, you're not meeting what I want and I'm not meeting what you want and we're together so we'll just stay together. Nobody enters marriage with like, okay, we're going to live together 7 years and then we're going to divide our junk up. That's not really the ideal behind marriage. So here's what happened. You could leave and go, I tell you what, I'm going to take my box full of desires. Let me get them all. I'm going to get them all, and I'm going to get my box full of desires, and I'm just going to go find me somebody else, somebody better, somebody that treat me like I deserve to be treated. Because I desire what I desire, and somebody out there, I won't marry a loser next time. But there's something about that hardly ever works, because when you go back and you look for that next person, that person that's not going to be the next loser, the problem with that, if you leave, is when you get there, if I leave, when I get there, guess who's still there? I am still there. I've got a problem. And see, that's why I say we need to get some things fixed before the next time. Amen. If we're going to make sure the next time's not like the last time, we got to work on the I problem. What's wrong with I? What is it that I want? See, people don't understand marriage, but you enter in the next marriage and what you do, you dump your whole box of expectation on the next person, and then you go, I just must be a bad picker because I've done picked another loser that can't meet my expectation. That's why usually second marriages, the percentages of failure is even higher than the first marriage. Third marriage is even worse. But you dump your desires, your expectations on somebody else. Now you say, well, doesn't the Bible say it's all right to have desires and dreams? And yes, it is. There are some God-given desires and God-given wishes and dreams. There is. We do it, and we talk about when we go through marriage, you say, will you respect your husband? You know, they found out that men, one of the highest things that a man needs, one of the main things men need is respect. They need to feel respected. Well, a woman, she needs to be loved and cherished. She needs to feel loved and cherished. You may need to jump over the daisies and go ahead and get the roses. She needs to be loved and cherished. Whatever her love language is, you need to love and cherish her. And she needs to be made to feel secure and accepted. And and so you have those dynamics working. And so I have this God-given desire, and they are God-given. God wants that for you. God wants for you to be happily ever after. He wants that for you. But what happens in the dynamic of marriage when your desire box gets turned into an expectation box? Here's what happens. That cannot happen without your marriage, the whole dynamic of your marriage changing. And now you've got a debt-debtor relationship in marriage. A debt-debtor relationship in marriage. So here's what happens. You know, I heard about this guy one time. Him and his wife, they wasn't doing all that great, and she always had a laundry list of stuff for him to do all the time. And, you know, and so this woman across the street, her husband had died, and, you know, she was still quite an attractive lady, and she come over and she's bragging, oh, you got such a wonderful husband. I would love to have, you know, I remember when my husband around, it was so awesome, and your husband is really the real handyman, you know. And she said, I've got a leaking faucet right now. If my husband were around, he would have fixed it, but, you know, and her husband spoke up and goes, I'll fix it for you. And his wife like, what? And so he gets his tools and he heads across the street to this woman across the street, and he goes in and he fixes her leaky faucet. And he comes back, you know, and he's just so happy about what he did. And his wife like just about to bite nails and like, what do you mean going over there and fixing her leaky faucet? I've been asking you for a year now to fix our leaky faucet, and you haven't even done it. About time, you know, she's still mad, and the neighbor comes over and she's got a pie. I just want to give this to your husband. He's such a wonderful man. Fix this for me. I'm so thankful and appreciative that he took the time to fix my leaky faucet. Do you see a difference there? The lady across the street, she didn't expect him to fix the faucet. She was just overwhelmed with gratitude and appreciation because the guy that she didn't expect to do it did it. But see, these people's marriage had got into a debt-debtor relationship. You owe me a debt. And you're a debtor to me because you were there. Your mom and daddy was there. The preacher was there. You said you would do this stuff for me. You know, the preacher said you're supposed to have sex with me a lot. You're not going there very much. And I'm tired of the old looking nightgown thing. You know, you need to get a better nightgown. You're looking old. You know, and you start doing stuff like that. It don't go very far in your marriage. You're going to get your spaghetti thrown out. I know. See, it's like this. How many of you has ever got a letter from your mortgage company? You go out and you get a letter from your mortgage company. It's like in a nice Valentine card look. You open it up and the mortgage company goes, Dear Mr. Daniels, just thought I'd write you to thank you for paying your mortgage. You are such a good guy, and we appreciate you so much, and we're glad to have your loan. And we've just included a nice little card, gift card in your mail here, and you can use it for whatever you want. We're just so appreciative that you paid your mortgage. How many's ever got one of those? No, you entered a contract, and there's a debt-debtor relationship, and they expect you to pay your mortgage. They expect it. You know what? Right here in town, I have been down there volunteering, I go in and talk to them girls in that volunteer electric, and you pay your bill. They don't send me no gift cards saying, hey, thank you, Dennis, for paying your electric bill. We're so thankful that we have you as a customer of Volunteer Electric. I have never got a thank you card. I've never got an appreciation letter. I've never got a gift card at all from them. But guess what? You can call and you may get, okay, we'll put you on hold, you're on hold, you're on hold, you're on hold. Somebody went to lunch, you're on hold, you're on hold. And so you just hang up. But guess what? You know what I've realized? You don't pay your electric bill. You won't even have to call them. They'll call you. They'll send you a letter in a different kind of envelope where even the mailman knows you ain't paid your electric bill. And they'll call you. Hey, where's your electric bill at? You signed up for this. We're going to send somebody out there and turn your electric off. We'll put your lights out. Same thing happens in your marriage. If you don't appreciate those around you, your wife will put your lights out. They'll throw your spaghetti out. See, that's what happens when we get into this debt-debtor relationship. What happens when that happens in a marriage? What begins to happen very quickly is all the romance goes out of the marriage. All the love goes out of the marriage. See, it just, you go, well, why? Because when you do something for your spouse, like, you come home from work and, maybe she's cooked you something, which is a strange thing nowadays. Don't amen too much, you'll be in the doghouse. Trying to help you, Bob. Hey, but what happens? You go, it's like, take and turn the tables. If a husband ever washes the clothes or does the dishes, you ought to see him when his wife gets home. You notice what I did? Look in the sink. Dishes are not in there no more. I did that. And you're really upset because your wife is not impressed with the fact that you did that. And she goes, yeah, and I've done that for the last 20 years. Where you been? Somebody's getting way too typical over here. Why? Because they expect it. But see, the guy, us guys can't even do men things anymore because all our men things have already expected. Well, I expect you to keep my car cleaned out and cleaned up. I expect you to mow the yard. I expect you to fix everything around this house. So like, as men go, okay, we don't get no kudos or no pats on the back for doing the men's stuff. Maybe we do some of the women's stuff. So we do some of the women's stuff, what we've known called women's stuff. If we do the laundry, if we do the dishes, we cook something like, you're going to pat me on the back, look what I did. Tonight's the night, right? In some way or another, they're not as excited about that as you are. You can have all kind of birthday parties, but the birthday parties that I like to be around? I like to be around someone that's throwing someone a surprise birthday party. All right, they're doing all the work. They're doing all the secret, calling people, sending out little cards. They're doing all that work. They don't even feel like it's work. They're so excited. Don't tell nobody, but I'm throwing them a secret, surprise birthday party. It's going to be so cool. But you know why it's so exciting? It's because hopefully they're not expecting it. Once the expectation gets there, it's over. It kind of ruins the whole birthday party if they find out, because that was the part of the thing. They were not expecting it. They were not expecting it. So here's the thing. In our marriages, I want you to just imagine with me for a moment, what would our marriage look like if we just came into marriage and we've got some God-given desires and we walk into marriage and we say, God, the woman I'm marrying, I want you to give me the grace and the strength that when we draw our last breath, that I can know that with everything within me, I tried to meet all my wife's desires. I lived my life in a way that I was trying to please her. One thing I noticed in counseling, I run into a lot of men in counseling. I mean, it's like the woman tells me about her husband. I'm thinking, oh my God, he's horrible. I dread when he comes in, Well, then he finally comes in and I find out, you got this husband, he's like beaten down a lot of times. I'm like, hey, what's up? And you find out he really does want to please his wife. He just don't have a clue on what that is. And, there's nothing worse than someone going to counseling and the counselor say, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And guess what? You go home and so you try it. And what does your spouse say? Yeah, you're just doing it because the counselor told you, right? You ain't doing it because you love me. You're just doing it because the counselor told you. Like this counselor, he was trying to get through to this man. Hey, man, your wife needs love. She needs compassion. She needs you to be passionate. I tell you what, you just don't get it, do you? And he told the woman to stand up. He went over to this woman and he just hugged her and he kissed her right on the lips and gave her a big old kiss. He said, see that? That's what your wife needs 5 days, 7 days a week. Her husband goes, well, I'll bring her over Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but the weekend's on you, man. I'm not saying the men are the brightest tools in the shed, you know. But we might ought to get to a frame of mind that you want to meet your partner's needs. In your outline, there's a way for you to see. I put on there, what does my wife owe me? What does my wife owe me? The way I can tell the dynamics of your marriage or my marriage has changed is whatever you put in that box there of what does my wife owe me. See, when you get in this dead relationship, it begins to erode the very fabric of what would be unconditional love. There's people who would like to do better in their marriage, but it's like this. It's hopeless. I've tried, you know, I will turn over a new leaf and try, but you know, I get, well, about time you did that. I've been doing it for 20 years. Been wondering when you're going to come around. So see, what happens in that dynamic is, here is someone trying to change, and maybe it's, you know, too late, you know, too little too late in a lot of ways, but if they're trying to change, they're trying to please, maybe it took them 20 years to figure out how to please you. But when they come, it's like, that's about time. Because as long as you've got an expectation marriage, nobody's ever going to get to a point where there's any love. Because when you get this deader relationship, here's what goes out the window. Love goes out the window. Romance goes out of the window. Gratitude, expectation, all those things that you used to have when you were dating. Me and my wife, as I told you, she did leave me like 5 times. And, you know, we were way too young to get married. And we didn't have our head on straight anyway. I don't know if we were in love or in lust. You know how that is. But we committed to stay together. And even in our later years, I think we went through all these. The leave time, the conquer time, the conform time, even the compromise. I think we went through all of that. Never forget that my wife left even up in years after the kids were grown. She left one time and went to Florida. And I got down there, and I'll never forget this thought come to my mind. And it was probably the biggest day of change for me and my marriage. I got down there, and we went to see a counselor, and a lot of times when you start getting counseling, it's worse than better. It gets worse before it gets better. And so after the counseling, we had another blow up, and we went back to the hotel, and I said it was a mistake for me to come down here. I had flew down to meet her because she had left. It was a mistake for me to come down here. I said, I'll go get on a bus tomorrow or fly back home tomorrow. And it's your life. You have a right to do what you want to your life. You don't have to be married to me. Folks, I'll never forget that. You know what happened? That day, my expectation box was emptied out. I don't even know that I had any desires, but my expectations were gone. She didn't, truly. I know we took a vow in church, and she didn't have to be married to me. And she said, no, I don't want you to leave. I said, I think I should. I think I should leave in the morning. You don't have to be married to me. And I think it dawned on her, she didn't have to be married to me. So if she don't have to be married to me and I don't have to be married to her, and we want to, then we should do better at it. And so I'll never forget, after that, when we got back home, it seemed like there's a new thing there. If she did do something in the house, I had to realize she didn't have to do that. You need to throw all your little, your Archie Bunker scenarios out the window and realize they don't have to do that. A lot of times the things that we say women need to do, that was long before women was working 40 hours and 50 hours a week anyway. And so the normal things that we say, well, this is what men do and this is what women do, that ain't even true anymore. It's whatever y'all need to do. It's whatever each other needs to do to please the other, to support the other, to love the other. And so, I find men sharing a lot more. We're not have arrived. We're not there yet. But I noticed just the little menial daily task. I hear Sharon goes, thank you for doing that. And I thank her. You take for a moment, if you think back to the desires, maybe you had a desire to be a stay-at-home mom and raise your kids. And it's been a long time. Have you ever thought about coming home and grabbing your husband by the hands and looking him in the eyes and say, hey, thank you for being a hardworking husband and being the breadwinner in our home and allowing me to stay home and take care of our kids. I really, really respect you for that. And I really appreciate you for that. Because he don't have to do it for you. He don't have to. And it could be the other way around. Just the menial everyday things that your spouse does for you. Maybe goes shopping, maybe does this, cooks something, do that, does things for you. Would it be too much to say, hey, thank you for doing that for me? You didn't have to do it. You've got to realize you don't own them. The people that think they're in a contractual marriage, somebody goes, well, I'll tell you what, here's how people come to counseling and go, I'm trying to save our marriage. It's my marriage and her marriage. I'm trying to save our marriage. But that's still I. It's all about I. And I'm trying to save our marriage. But here's what it is. I don't want that for me and Sharon. I don't want to save the marriage. I don't want to save the marriage. I don't want to put the box load on her to save the marriage. Because guess what? You or her can leave and you can go out somewhere else and get you the marriage. There's a bunch of them out there. It happens every day in Vegas and Gatlinburg. You can go get you another the marriage. So I don't want her to be committed to the marriage. I want her to be committed to me. And I want to be committed to her. And I want to love her and respect her and spend the rest of my life with her. And one day, if we're fortunate enough to grow old and we're sitting on a little porch somewhere and we're rocking in our rocking chairs in time, realizing that somehow we made it, taking hits off of each other's oxygen tank, thinking about how long it's been since anything was threw out the back door, or the last time she's packed up or I packed up, and realize, thank God, for the grace of God, we somehow got it together a little bit. I think if you think about it a whole lot, you realize you don't want somebody just committed to the marriage. You want somebody committed to you that will love you. I want to put up a verse of Scripture here since I haven't used any. We actually use Scripture around here sometimes. I mean, we do. There's some in your outline you're going to take home and read yourself. Most people come here can read. Happily ever after. I want to show you the Scripture. It says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Not looking to your own interests, but to each of you to the interest of the others. What would it look like if that was actually done? I mean, it's not what I want, it's what you want. What is your dreams? What are your desires for the future? I want to lay down my life that I spend every day trying to make this verse come alive for you. One of my spouses goes, hey, Dennis, that's the same with me. I want to take every day of my life and I want it to be about me and you. And I want to just serve you. I want that for us for the rest of our life. I want to read this story in closing today. We're going to have them come up. It's not going to take long. The parable of the spoons. For Valentine's Day, we made all of you a little card like this to remember the story. This is going to tell you whether your marriage is heaven or hell today. In heaven and in hell, there is a banquet table where people are seated, and before them is a great feast. A strange dilemma, both in heaven and in hell, is the way they must eat. In both places, every person has eating utensils strapped to their hands, and they cannot take them off. Also, the utensils are too long for them to feed themselves. There's no way they could scoop the food and actually get it to their own mouths. In heaven, the people, though, they find a solution easily. With joy, they just feed each other across the table and have great fellowship, and they serve one another and enjoy the feast that heaven will offer. But in hell, it's much different. The people in hell are so selfish that they would rather starve to death than help someone else. Therefore, even though they have the same food available, they never experience it because they refuse to serve each other. Folks, the difference between a happy marriage and a failure in marriage many times, and I know it does take two people, but when two people will do this, when two people will serve one another, their life's going to be a party. It's going to be servanthood. It's not really an accurate account of heaven or hell for sure, but it is an accurate picture of the difference between a good marriage and a bad marriage. The primary difference in many cases between success and failure in marriage is simply whether you are motivated by selfishness or servanthood. I want you to think of this verse right here. You are the only legitimate source of blank in your spouse's life. Think about that for a moment. If your spouse is going to have romance legitimately, do you realize, man, that you're the only legitimate romance for your wife? Legitimately? If your wife is going to have sex, pleasurable sex, you're the only blank there? Legitimately? If your wife's needs are going to be met and she's going to be pleased, you're the only legitimate? And you realize the same way with your spouse, you're the only answer to him? That's what you're contracting to in marriage, but it's greater than a contract. It's following the example of Jesus Christ. Jesus laid down his life for us, to please us, to meet our needs. He didn't enter in a contract. That's why the Old Testament didn't work with the Old Testament rules and regulations. Nobody wants to be in a contract. I want to keep the contract. You ever been to a church that's all about the contract? Well, you signed a membership card, you got to keep it. I don't feel like keeping it. Well, you got to. You signed it. The deacon board's going to get you. Folks, that's not what marriage is about. That's not what church membership is about. It's like Christ in the church. Jesus kept showing us how much he was willing to lay down for us. Amen. He put on a towel and got down and washed the saints' feet, the disciples' feet. It's all about servitude. Who can outserve one another? We're going to give you one of these cards. Maybe you stick it somewhere and realize you are the only person to legitimately feed and make your partner prosper and be successful in life. You are it. Can you dig it? Amen. Can you do it? I hope you can today. I like for Pam Bible and Denton Carr to make their way up here right after this prayer, and they've got some that's going to help them. I want us to go to the Lord in prayer. God, we thank you today for your word. God, I pray today for this marriage. God, for different reasons, it is starting over again. But God, what I have seen is I see a desire for each one of these two. They're wanting to help the other. I don't sense in my spirit, Lord, that it's all about them. It's like, how can I help her? How can I help him? And God, I pray for your blessings upon this marriage today. And God, I pray for your blessings on all of our marriages today. God, I'm not at the end yet. I could have more battles in my marriage and in Sharon's marriage, Lord. I pray for your protection. Lord, there's some here that's already lost that battle, you might say. They done all they could. They done everything possible to save their marriage, and it still didn't work out. For those, Lord, I pray for grace to love again, to forgive again, to see that you still love them, that you still care for them, and God, help them to also expect, God, and desire what you want for them in the future. God, we ask it today in Jesus' name, amen. I'd like for y'all to come on up at this time. Y'all can come on up here if you want to, all the way to the top of the stage where all the bright lights are. Won't make you nervous at all. Come on up here, Pam. Bless you. Denton. Come up. Y'all gonna stand side by side? I'll let y'all stand where you can see the crowd out here. They just wanted this ceremony to be short and sweet, but they wanted it to be before God and all of you as witnesses today. So I ask you, Denton and Pam, to join hands. And if you'll just look at each other and repeat these vows after me. I, Denton, promise you, Pam, I will cherish you all of my life. I will seek to meet your emotional, physical, and spiritual needs in every way possible. I'll be faithful to you above all others. I will seek to demonstrate the love of Christ to you. All I have or ever hope to have, I give to you as my life partner. I receive you as my mate, a special gift from God. I promise to keep my promises. I give you my solemn word and my deepest love. For Pam, will you repeat? I, Pam, promise you, Denton, that I will cherish you all of my life. I will seek to meet your emotional needs, physical and spiritual needs in every way possible. I'll be faithful to you above all others. I will seek to demonstrate the love of Christ to you. All I have or ever hope to have, I give to you as my life partner. I receive you as my mate, a special gift from God. I promise to keep my promises. I give you my solemn word and my deepest love. Thank you. Do you have rings you'd like to present? Got some pretty girls up here helping today. Y'all have both spoken powerful words of commitment to each other. Are you ready now to seal the vows with a symbol of your love and commitment?
Yes.
Okay. If you'll, Denton, if you'll place the ring on Pam's hand. Now, Pam, if you'll place the ring on Denton's hand. And I want y'all to repeat this together as you hold each other's hands. With all the commitment of my heart, I give you this cherished ring. It is yours to serve as a visible reminder of the words I have spoken in reverent promise to you and to God this day. These words have spoken in truth and in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. I want to pray for you at this time. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for Pam and Denton today. And we just pray, Father, that you would let them be able to take this verse of Scripture today, and may it be a powerful verse of Scripture in their life. May they always seek to serve each other and meet each other's needs, wants, and desires. May they never crumble into just expectations. May they stay grateful and appreciative for what each other does for each other. We ask it now in Jesus' name. All right, girls, you think I ought to make them kiss? Okay. Denton, you may kiss your bride. I welcome to you, Mr. and Mrs. Denton Carr. God bless you. Let us stand at this time. We'll be dismissed. You can come up and celebrate them. We're glad to have a lot of their family here today. God bless you. You can, pass this on. Be sure to get your little card today as a reminder of the sermon. Love you, folks. Hope to see you next week. If the family, right here we got a photographer. If you want a few of the family members to take pictures, it'd be great. She'll be glad to do it.